All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, fellow Pandemonium travelers, this is Seattle Pandemonium Shutdown, day 159 by my count. Oh, boy. Well, what's going down? What's happening? Well, more looting and rioting in Capitol Hill, First Hill, last few days. Police chief resigned. Someone pointed out something interesting. They were talking about slashing a couple $1 million from the city police budget, but no talk of cutting the Seattle City Council's pay. They cut the police chief's pay, but not city council. Interesting how that works, right? But what do we got going on? Cannon Hinnant. Is that how you say it? Cannon Hinnant was a 5-year-old child. See, I don't necessarily have my facts straight on this one. A 5-year-old in, was it like New Jersey or something? Rode his bike across a neighbor's lawn, and the guy came out and just shot him in broad daylight and killed him. Basically executed a 5-year-old for riding a bike on his property. And this is one of these things where I want to be careful, because this often happens. People get into like narrative tracks, like they get into narrative bubbles, and then part of the narrative is the mainstream media isn't reporting on this. And I have to say, I'm not really seeing reporting on it, but I'm seeing people saying they're not reporting on it. But I want to be careful, because just because people are saying they aren't doesn't mean that that's true. I haven't actually looked for mainstream coverage because I don't really care what they cover. I think it is important if they kind of cover a story like this, while at the same time, a story about a black man who executes a white child in the street probably isn't going to help much right at the moment. Not really going to help the tensions, let's say. But this is also, again, got to be careful here. I don't want to be too like hyperbolic, or I need to say what I mean. What I've been saying is, if diversity is our strength, maybe we're just not very good at it, right? Because apparently we're not very good at it, because these things keep happening, right? Now, is it racially motivated, the killing of Cannon Hinnant? I mean, it could be, I don't know. Is that a hate crime? Could be, I don't know. But part of the issue is the narrative on, I don't want to say the right, because conservatives are kind of afraid of talking about these things, and I mean, Republicans are. The narrative is black crime doesn't get reported and white crime does. So the cases of like white police shooting black people or killing black people are blown way out of proportion by the media as this epidemic, whereas the negative policing might be an epidemic. But crime is also high in the black community, so these things, it's a mix of things. But the narrative is, and what was that couple? Like, there was that couple that got brutally, like, abducted and raped and murdered. This was back in, like, it was right before 9/11, if I remember right. The narrative on that one was the media covered this up, right? And the reality was that they covered it, but it went to trial, and the trial took years, and like 9/11 happened like not long later, so that just gobbled up all the news cycle. So this narrative is that they don't report on black crime becomes a kind of racist. I don't want to say that. It is leveraged by racists. I mean like real race, like organized, ideological racists, not normal people who are now being called racist. But so Cannon Hinnant is one of these stories where you should know about it, but it's also being leveraged for political purposes. So it is politicizing the death of a child, which, while also kind of gross, is nothing new, and it should serve as some kind of bellwether. Okay? Never mind all the other murders and chaos going on all over the country and the destruction of everybody's lives at the hands of rioters. You might consider yourselves protesters, but you literally destroyed people's lives who may or may not agree with you. Some of them, a lot of them probably did. And their lives are now ruined because you destroyed their business. And yeah, anyways. A child being shot dead in the street in the middle of the day, should be some kind of bellwether for us. Can't we all take a second? Like I've kind of been saying for a while now, as I scold rioters, but I try to praise peaceful protesters. Maybe everybody needs to go home. Maybe everybody needs to go home and chill out for a hot minute, a week. Call it a ceasefire. You know? Call it a ceasefire. We have jacked ourselves up to a point of widespread hysteria and terror, and in places like Chicago, they're using basically hearsay and rumor to justify more rioting and chaos and destruction. They just go, oh, the police shot a black kid, and then it turns into an angry mob, and then they go around the city looting and call it protest. And you had that Black Lives Matter organizer, that gal, what was her name? Angela or something? On the video talking about how looting is a form of reparations. Now, that is a messed up precedent to establish. What are we doing? Are we being crazy? No. Oh, okay. Just talking. That reparations are paid by you ransacking other people's property. I don't think you actually you don't want to set that precedent. Because also, it wasn't just like white business owners that got looted. Black business owners got looted too. Every race of people got looted. So I find that's a really bad precedent to set. And encouraging that, by the way, is going to result in people getting killed. Like the guy they found the dead body in the pawn shop, right? He was killed, probably defending his business. And, you know, in other instances, people have been shot by business owners, or at least menaced with weapons, right? So rather than do the first step where people, by right, I would say, defend their property, how about you don't encourage wanton destruction and theft of other people's lives at a time when their lives were already upturned? I find that to be, it's like there's blood on your hands for encouraging, especially younger people who don't fully understand the consequences of their actions, going out and feeling justified in destroying things. Okay, so this wasn't supposed to be another rant about property rights. I guess it was supposed to be about Cannon Hinnant. Another life lost. Some people will probably try to pin it on gun control or lack of gun control. They have a kind of a point. I mean, America is a highly armed place. That kind of thing wouldn't quite happen somewhere else, but we're not somewhere else. We're us. We're here. We're Americans, and a lot of us are awful. I mean, that's just true. That's sad, but true. A lot of us are just awful people. There are racists. There are deranged leftists who think everything is racist all the time, and it's a new thing every week that they fixate on. There are socialists who refuse to acknowledge the failures of socialism. There's capitalists that refuse to acknowledge the failures of capitalism. And we all have an abusive relationship with one another as we try to live side by side, and we all hate each other. That's pretty much that's cities, right? That's basically cities. No real connection between most of the people. Not like a real community anyway. And this is also evidenced by the way that everybody decided to behave over the last few months. If you guys felt some kind of connection to each other, as an old lady waves to another old lady. I'm talking about how there's no connection between people. But like, if you felt as though you were part of a community, you would probably not go and ransack that store. Now, there's another argument, of course, which is that people were coming from other places and looting people's businesses. And there's some videos of some rather, what am I trying to say? Some rather enraged black gentlemen demanding that these like white progressives stop rioting, like stop destroying things, and that they were co-opting the movement. And that's another theme of this whole thing, is apparently Black Lives Matter movement is full of basically white people who are like supporting rioting, and then the rioting destroys neighborhoods and chases the police off, and allegedly police support in the black community is actually higher than they're kind of leading you to think. I don't know. See, repeating narratives that I'm not necessarily sure I have confirmed, being irresponsible. That's enough rambling for me for one day. Talk to you guys later. Bye.